ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
An all-time performance by an East Carolina Pirate on the biggest stage, Treya Savage with a World Series masterclass on Wednesday night in Game 5 to lead the Blue Jays to a victory in a key game of the World Series. Where does that rank on the all-time ECU Pro Performance list? We'll break it down. It's going to be hard to not be number one. We'll discuss that throughout the course of the show. We also are going to talk ECU Temple. We are only 2 days away from the Pirates kicking things off in Philadelphia. We'll visit with Ryan Wallen of Owls Daily, and we'll have our weekly chat with Maceo Donald of the ECU Sports Network sideline reporter in this show as well. So we got a busy hour. We're going to jump right into it. As always, our comment sections are open on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Feel free to comment there. But man, what a performance last night in Los Angeles. Treya Savage, the 22-year-old rookie, with just a phenomenal performance, an all-timer. He strikes out 12 in 7 innings, only 1 run allowed, 3 hits, no walks. He set really too many standards, too many records to even recollect all of them. The biggest one that stood out to me was Sandy Koufax in attendance became only the second pitcher ever to strike out at least 10 through 5 innings of a World Series game. And that other one was Sandy Koufax, obviously one of the best pitchers of all time. So just incredible night. Treya Savage, you get anywhere on social media this morning, he is plastered all over the news, and rightfully so, as the 22-year-old former Pirate has just made so many people in Toronto and in Pirate Nation happy. Philip Pilkington back in the 94.3 The Game studios. Philip, look, we were talking pre-show. It's really hard to sum up what we're watching. Obviously, we've gotten to know Trey really well, and it almost feels surreal when you see somebody that you basically know firsthand pretty tightly do this, and it's almost, I don't know, it feels like we're almost living in a dream.
It does, man. It's so cool. You know, when you go out there, we knew this guy was going to be a big league player, but when you're watching the World Series and you're seeing him, what I notice is when the camera zooms in on his face and he's walking off the mound after an inning, and it's like, dang, that's Trey. Like, we've seen him do that so many times. We've been the ones standing there talking to him right after it happens, and then to see him do it, and you realize, I'm not just watching that game. Pirate Nation's not just watching this game. The world is watching this game right now. It's really cool to see.
Treya Savage, really, he has already kind of cemented himself as a legend in Blue Jays country. Like, obviously, I think if the Jays go on to win the World Series, no matter what he does from this point forward, whether his career falls off, whether he becomes a future Hall of Famer, and I lean more towards like the latter being more probable than the former. But either way, like if he helps them win a World Series, he will never have to purchase an adult beverage, I don't think, in the city of Toronto. Like Blue Jays fans will always remember him for the amazing things he's done during this run. Is still just crazy. 3 regular season starts, 5 playoff starts, and Derek Jeter was talking about it after the game. And I think he put it best. Like maybe it's best case scenario that he was just rushed up, and then in this moment, because we know how much making the World Series for at the college level for ECU means, so there's so much pressure on it. But if you're like just going through it for the first time and it's all a blur, and you're just hey kid, go pitch in the World Series, maybe you just don't think about like what it all means. Like obviously he knows he's a baseball guy, but like when you're in the moment, you don't get so wrapped up and put all this pressure on yourself. I think he's just going out there and pitching, and I'm sure he's scouting, thinking about it, but he's just at the end of the day playing baseball. And I think that more than anything maybe has allowed him to just ride through it without maybe putting too much pressure on himself.
Well, he's got too much else going on in his life to do that. And I know people are saying, well, what else does he have going on? I mean, I think he's living in a hotel, right? I don't even think he's actually has an apartment in Toronto yet. He probably is still living out of a suitcase. When it gets cold, he may not even have the clothes. He may have to go like, oh, man, I got to go buy a coat tomorrow because the temperature is going to be cooler than It's been since I moved up here. He doesn't have all of his personal belongings, so just the little things that you're doing, living out of a hotel or living out of an apartment you just moved into, he's so busy caught up in that. Yeah, like you said, there isn't much time to think about being a baseball player until you show up to the ballpark, and yeah, you're not really worried about it being the World Series. You're just worried about going out there and pitching. And also, like I said, he's not along for the whole ride. You know, when you're along for the whole ride, you build up, hey, we're having a great season. Hey, we're contending for the playoffs. Hey, we clinched. Now we've won the first series, won the second. It's like he just got thrown in. Boom, he's here. I mean, heck, he wasn't even there on September 1st. He didn't get through to like September 13th or 14th.
I want to have a quick big picture discussion. We got two guests to get to, so we'll dive right in on, kind of where this ranks. And I posed this question on social media last night, and obviously a lot of people said it's at the top. But where does the Treya Savage performance rank amongst all-time Pirate Pro performances? And you have to consider, obviously, LaShawn Merritt, what he did in the Olympics, and also Chris Johnson, I think, is up there. But I think you put it best pre-show, so I'll kind of let you reiterate that. But, like, Chris Johnson had the best season, I think, and then LaShawn Merritt, obviously, tremendous accolades, accomplishments at the Olympic level. But Treya Savage, what he did last night on that stage, the World Series, I don't think that's ever been topped.
No, because you have to go out there and do it time and time again, right? He had to throw 7 innings and be spot on. I think Merritt had the biggest accomplishment. At the end of the day, there's nothing more accomplishment as an athlete on planet Earth than winning an individual gold medal at the Olympics. That's it. You can't beat that. And he did that. So I think that's one. I think Trey's the best single one-time performance. And then, yeah, CJ2K has had the best season by a Pirate, but that was over a culmination of 16 games. So I think they're all at the top. They're just at the top of different lists. Now, obviously, with Sean Merritt to go out there and run a 400-meter dash in 43 seconds is pretty damn fast. So, that's close, but still, I think the accomplishment of the gold medal is more of what it is. Whereas when you have to go out there and you have to strike out 12 different guys, there's a lot to that, especially with the way he handled that Tommy Edman at bat in the fourth. He had just hit Freddie. He had let up a really kind of weak infield single. He now, for the first time all game, was pitching with the go-ahead run at the plate. He had just spiked his slider, and he comes back, throws the slider right down the middle. And, man, you could tell he was pitching with a lead last night. He felt comfortable. He pitched with reckless abandon. He was not afraid to fail.
LaShawn Merritt won 3 gold medals at the Olympic Games, 2008 in Beijing, won the 400-meter, also the 4x400-meter relay, and then in 2016, Rio de Janeiro won another gold medal. Then Chris Johnson in 2009, obviously one of only a handful of backs to run for 2,000 yards, but the crazy thing about that year, he also had 503 yards receiving, so a total of 2,509 yards was the most yards from scrimmage ever by a running back in NFL history. So it's great accomplishments, but I'm with you. Treya Savage, what he did. And the other thing, too, like, he did it against a lineup with 3 Hall of Famers at the top. I mean, Shohei, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. You have to just look at, and the other thing too, man, just like making Ohtani look silly. His helmet falling off, like that picture of him just strutting off the mound with Ohtani's helmet falling off, like that's iconic, man. I thought the ECU picture of Yesavage with the hat tip was going to be my favorite Yesavage picture ever, but it's already been topped.
It has. And, you mentioned the 3 Hall of Famers at the top, and then look at the rest of the lineup. There's still guys who made all-star games. I mean, you got Tommy Edman, Kike Hernandez. There's a few other guys in this lineup. Like, these guys are stars. These guys, this is the best lineup in baseball. And it's not even close. Sorry, Yankees fans. This is the best lineup in baseball. And 12 strikeouts.
All right, so Johnny Robertson says in his last 6 games against pitchers not named Yesavage, Ohtani is batting .521 with 8 runs, 8 RBIs, 6 homers. Against Trey, he is 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. Hunter Corbett says it's Treya Savage, and then CJ2K, I guess, is the only thing that I compare it to for Pirate performances in the pros. Cameron said that's one of the best pitching performances ever, not just in ECU history. And Scott Lorbatcher here with a good pull. I think he kind of follows it up with the right take, but he says Chris Heston threw a no-hitter in 2015 with no walks and 11 Ks. So obviously you have a no-hitter at the professional level. That's a pretty dang good individual performance too.
I guess there was an error in there. So he threw a perfect game pretty much. The team just didn't. I'm guessing if he said no walks.
Yeah. I thought he walked or hit somebody, but yeah, either way, Scott, anytime you throw a no-hitter, that's a big deal. And he says the game significance and the opponent of Trey were better, but in a vacuum, Heston's line was also incredible. And yeah, John White says he hit 3 batters that game, so he did hit 3.
Okay. So he hit 3, but still, yeah, that's a good point. A no-hitter's a no-hitter. A lot of guys
no-hitter
good in a World Series.
Yeah. No-hitter is really good, but I'm still going what he did against the Dodgers in the World Series. With the series tied 2-2, like massive swing game as well. It's not like this team was down 3-1 or even up 3-1 to clinch it. Obviously, it would have been a big deal, but a ton of pressure is riding on you in that spot. So there is that conversation. So, look, we'll get more into the Treya Savage stuff. I mean, we'll continue to talk about it. Maybe at the last half of this show, if we have time at the end. We do have 2 guests to get to, and we do have to talk ECU Temple. But we'll have Bobby Harvard on tomorrow, and we'll dive further into Trey going into Game 6. And also, obviously, Jeff Hoffman closing out as well from a Pirate perspective. So Pirates pitch 8 of the 9 innings. And, man, what a night to be a Pirate. And obviously super happy for Treya Savage. Let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll visit with Ryan Wallen, preview Temple ECU on the other side.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Allen, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors. Ahar, matey! Back to the show with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors on a Thursday edition of the program. We're 2 days out from East Carolina, taking on the Temple Owls at Lincoln Financial Field. And let's get the Temple perspective with Ryan Wallen from Owls Daily, the 24/7 sports site covering Temple. He's been on the show many a times over the years, and he's back once again. And Ryan, first off, welcome back. Second off, I think we finally may have a matchup between a good ECU team and a good Temple team. It always feels like one of these teams is bad and the other is good, and maybe we finally have a pretty good matchup this year.
Yeah, Stephen, thanks for having me on, and I agree. Yeah, definitely feel that this is going to be the most meaningful matchup between these two teams in quite some time. It feels like, I think you've hit the nail on the head. This has kind of been a series where it's been ruled by one team or the other. You've had 6 straight wins by Temple in the mid to late 2010s, and now recently, ECU's kind of ruled that series. But like you mentioned, it's going to be two meaningful teams. Two meaningful teams are playing for meaningful things. Temple playing for the bowl eligibility for the first time in 6 years, and ECU obviously wanting to try to push to become that upper echelon team again in the American Conference.
So Ryan Wallen with us. You've been there covering the games, and we knew when KC Keeler was hired, it was a great hire on paper. And, he's really turned it around faster than I think many people thought he would as far as win total goes. And what can you describe what has made the difference with KC coming in? Obviously, a history of success, but what has allowed him to turn around so quickly?
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that he knows how to build a program and work with sometimes not necessarily having the most resources out there. And he knows how to navigate and run a football program from the top down. And I think that's been kind of the great thing about hiring a guy who was at the FCS level and transitioned Sam Houston to the FBS level, because, he was working with some scholarship limitations at one point. He was working with limited funds at Sam Houston State, and now coming to the FBS level, seeing what the transfer portal has been at Sam Houston, and now making that jump to Temple. He's in a very similar situation. Obviously, Temple has a little bit more resources that they can pump into their football program, but just that knowledge that goes into being a head coach and having 30-plus years of head coaching experience, I think has just helped tremendously compared to, the couple previous regimes at Temple where, really with Rod Carey, you had a guy who just really wasn't the right fit, I think, at Temple, with a guy coming from the Midwest. And then Stan Drayton, just having never been a coordinator before or a head coach, he just didn't necessarily know how to run a football program, whereas Keeler has that knowledge. He has the Northeast ties, being that he is from Pennsylvania, and he really knows what it takes to win in college football.
We're visiting with Ryan Wallen, who covers Temple for OwlsDaily.com. And Ryan, this offense, man, the numbers jump out at you. And also watching some of the tape and the games, they have real legit talent at the skill positions. And, just obviously the tight end, you got the big receiver, the running backs are good. Just how good has this offense been led by Evan Simon, the quarterback?
Yeah, they've been clicking on all cylinders. And you mentioned, the real phenomenal part is that a lot of the personnel that this team has is largely the talent that the previous staff had and that they had recruited. So it really wasn't necessarily a personnel issue with the previous staff. It was more of a schematics thing and how they were actually executing on game day. And, that's been the great thing. And especially you mentioned Evan Simon being the guy who last year was Temple's starting quarterback for the majority of the season and really was just a game manager. And you wondered, was he going to be the guy that was going to actually be able to turn this team around, or was he going to be more of just a transitional guy? Was he going to be the guy that could take you to that next level and give you 6 wins on the schedule? And he obviously has proven a lot of people wrong in that sense. With the year he's had, Jay Ducker has been a phenomenal asset into the running back room, coming from Sam Houston with KC, just knowing what he provides and has offered this team, and being a consistent workhorse out of the backfield and a guy who's reliable, who protects the football, is a hard runner. And then you mentioned a guy like the tight end, Peter, who really didn't get a chance to play because he was playing behind a couple other good tight ends here at Temple, but now is finally getting his moment to shine and just has shown what a monster of a tight end he actually can be. A guy that's, 6'6", 6'7", 260 plus pounds and has a catch radius that most wide receivers don't even have. So, you have those types of weapons that are making the job a lot easier for Evan Simon.
So we saw Simon last year, and he put up a bunch of yards in that East Carolina game. You could see the talent. He also made some mistakes, and obviously, 21 touchdowns to no picks is crazy, and I think even PFF only has him with 3 turnover-worthy plays through 8 games. So, is he just – how much of this is the offense allowing him to be error-free, with the running game and play action protecting him, versus him just being a great decision-maker? Is it kind of a combination of both? Just what are you seeing with his play?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a combination of both. I think first off, that Casey Keeler has mentioned that this offensive line is probably the most improved position group he's ever had in his 30-plus years of coaching, especially given such a short time that he inherited this group. This group just became so much more explosive. They became leaner. They really put in the work during the offseason under offensive line coach Al Johnston, and he's done a phenomenal job with them. But I also think it's just, Evan Simon has been a student of the game, and he's been willing to learn from his mistakes and watch the tape. And he's admitted, multiple times he was living at Temple's football facility throughout training camp, and at the start of the season, he had an air mattress that he would blow up in one of the storage closets, and he was sleeping there so he could actually stay in and watch film throughout the week and really elevate his game to the next level. So I definitely think it's been a little bit of both. But like you mentioned, he just has not put the ball in harm's way. He's excellent job of decision making. He's not putting the ball in anywhere where anybody else other than his receivers can get it. And he is just having some time to actually be able to make plays and, go through his progressions. And if he feels the need to, he's actually started to pull the ball a little bit more and add a little bit of mobility into his game as well. And he'll tuck it and run and take those yards that are guaranteed rather than, try to extend the play and make a stupid decision.
Defensively, Ryan, Temple, there's been games where they've been really good defensively and solid at others, and then some games have gotten away from them. They are allowing 4.9 yards per rush, but also just 189 yards through the air per game. So what have you seen out of the defense? What have they done well? What are some potential weaknesses on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think, honestly, the defensive line has done very well this season. You do mention the 4.9 yards per rush, but it's helped a lot when Temple's gotten up early, and that's really where they've had that strength, is that the offense has been clicking, so the defense doesn't have to have as much pressure on them. And so teams kind of shied away from the run against them. But the defensive line's done a really nice job of getting pressures. I think where they haven't shined is, they've not been able to finish off plays and bring down opposing teams' quarterbacks, which is kind of allowed for some of those big passing plays to happen. And we've seen that the last couple of weeks at Charlotte and at Tulsa. We saw it earlier on in the year against Oklahoma as well. If you have a quarterback that has that ability to extend the play and, escape the pocket and make something happen, it's kind of burned Temple's defense a little bit because, the corners just can't hold their coverage that long. And that's something Coach Keeler has said, that he's like, well, we can't expect our corners to cover for 10 seconds. There's only so long you can hold them. So I would say that's definitely where the weakness has lied. The corners have been a little bit so-so here and there, and they haven't really been tested by a true passing offense yet. So I'm a little worried, I guess, this weekend against Caton Hauser, who's a more prolific passing quarterback, and ECU obviously has the ability to air it out a little bit. That'll definitely be an interesting matchup, especially if the D-line can't just get some pressure on Hauser and bring him down.
Looking at Temple, obviously, I've watched a decent amount of their games this year, and including Tulsa and Navy in particular. And really, they've won the games they should win, and by wide margins, and they've lost the games on paper they should lose. And I will say, look, they should have won the Navy game. I mean, you were there, I'm sure, so you realize that as much as anybody. But you look at the schedule ahead, it's kind of interesting that you get ECU, Army, Tulane, North Texas. Those are all tough games, and I don't know if they'll be favored in any of them, but also a chance they could, potentially play themselves back into the conference championship mix too. So is that even being talked about at all, or is it more just about right now, hey, let's get bowl eligible, worry about maybe something bigger later?
Yeah, I think Coach Keeler put it really bluntly at the start of the season, and he's kind of referenced back to it as the season has progressed, that he does not want his team to be realistic. He said, if you're realistic, he said, I don't want you to play for me. He is fully about, this team has a ceiling as high as they want it to be. That they're playing for bowl eligibility, but, they also have conference aspirations at the end of the day, conference title game aspirations. And you mentioned the Navy game. Obviously, Temple's one play away, one missed call away, one extra, timeout away from being undefeated in the conference and having the only loss in Navy's column possibly being Temple. Obviously things didn't work out that way, and Temple is sitting at 5-3 where it is right now with one conference loss, and the loser of this ECU Temple game is likely going to be eliminated from that conference title picture. But as of right now, I think still everything's on the table, and Coach Keeler is preaching that mentality that, we're playing not only for bowl eligibility, but, we're still playing for a conference title. And that's, at the end of the day, what our goal is. We want to be the best version of ourselves we can be, and we're going to take this, and run with it as far as we can go, because people already counted us out at the beginning of the year, and look where we're at now.
It'll be Lincoln Financial Field, 2:00 kickoff. This will be ECU's first afternoon kickoff of the season, which is ridiculous to think about or say. Also, the first Saturday game since September. Temple obviously playing at home. Just obviously we know it's a huge stadium, Ryan. It's hard to, even if Temple has a good crowd, it's still going to be like less than half full, just because of the size of the stadium. Like, how is there any buzz right now, given how Coach Keeler has brought this thing along? Do you expect a good crowd, a good turnout on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be a pretty decent crowd. I don't know if it's going to be quite as good as what Temple had for Navy, because that was a homecoming game, and Navy travels pretty well, obviously, with them being the closest other opponent to Temple. But I'm hoping the fans are going to turn out, especially coming off two big road wins. It's the first time Temple's been home since homecoming. They have the possibility to be on a 3-game win streak if they come away with a win. Obviously, the bowl implications are in play now. It's going to be largely dependent, I think, if the students turn out and how much buzz, that Temple's PR team is putting out on campus and all, and playing this up as, this is a spot where the team has not been in almost 6 years. So can the students turn out? Do they care enough to turn out? Right now it's looking like it's going to be pretty decent weather, beautiful fall afternoon in Philadelphia for a game. So hopefully they're going to put about 22,000 in the stands is what I'm hoping. But, I would not be surprised if students don't turn out, then it ends up being closer to that 15,000 mark. And hopefully it does, because it seems like this Temple team has fed off the crowd's energy. And if the crowd isn't into it early on, that probably doesn't bode well for the Owls, because that's kind of what happened against UTSA. But thankfully the Temple team kind of picked it up after halftime, and Coach Keeler kind of lit them up a little bit.
Looking forward to Saturday again, 2:00 kickoff in the Lincoln Financial Field. We'll see you up there, Ryan. Looking forward to another rendition of ECU Temple. But appreciate the time, man, and we'll let you get back to it. Thanks as always.
Yep, absolutely, Stephen. Thanks for having me on.
That's Ryan Wallen, contributor to owlsdaily.com, the 24/7 Sports Temple site. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll visit with Maceo Donald on the other side.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Pirates play here. Arr! This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo.
Yes! That was
so good! On 94.3, The Game.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors on a Thursday edition of the show. We're 2 days out from ECU and Temple doing battle at Lincoln Financial Field. Let's visit now with Maceo Donald, sideline reporter on the ECU Sports Network, former Pirate football player. He has spent time at Temple, playing in that stadium in Philly, and it's always a weird atmosphere. We were just talking to Ryan Wallen, who covers Temple. Maceo, he said the attendance could be anywhere from 15 to 20,000 for a 70,000 seat stadium. So it's, even if they have a good crowd, it's a weird environment. How do you get yourself ready to play in front of kind of a weird venue like this?
Yeah, you just got to bring it. But for those guys, it's definitely hard being in that Eagle Stadium and it just being so big and just not being known to be just a great football program with a great fan to show up every week regardless. It can be a little bit hard, but for our guys coming up there and making the trip, it's all about them. It's all about being focused. All about bringing your own energy. I know the Pirates will probably travel pretty decent even up there. I'm sure it's not that far of a drive or even a flight. So I'm sure we're going to have a good crowd there. But it's all about bringing your own energy, just relying on yourself, trying to take them out of the game. I know big explosive plays up front can be a big deal. I kind of think about the last 2 times actually I played there. One time was 2020 COVID year, so no one was in there. It was an empty stadium at the time. We actually stayed in Delaware and drove to Philadelphia on game day because in the city, it was like rules about capacity and everything. So at that time up there was no one in any stadiums, even though down here we might have had 1,000 or a few hundred or something like that. And then the next time, I think this was 2022, it still wasn't a big crowd, even though it's kind of a regular game and everything. So those guys are experienced with that. Coach Harrell's experienced with that, and he knows how to bring the energy for sure for those guys.
And I remember that 2020 game, it was like delayed because they had some COVID issues, and y'all didn't even know y'all were going to play right before the game, right?
Yeah, it was a toss-up. It was in the air, literally, as we're warming up, it's like, oh, well, we might not play and everything. And but we did playing, and I think that year especially, it was so weird. They didn't even care. The refs didn't care much, and we had a bunch of weird games. I remember Tyler Snead ran a kick return back that game and jumped in the stands, and there was no flag. So that's my guy, but that's kind of how it was there. I don't think they probably call it flag now, but it's that kind of a deal. Just bring your own energy when you play up there.
And this is a big game. Look, Temple suddenly 5-3. They're 3-1 in the conference. ECU 4-3, 2-1. So right now ECU trailing Temple in the standings. And Temple under first-year coach Casey Killer has done a really good job turning it around quickly. I don't know, it feels like for the first time in years that ECU Temple there's a lot on the line Whereas like in recent years, one side or the other has been pretty bad, so you kind of knew the outcome. So I'm expecting a good game Saturday. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty good. They honestly surprisingly have a pretty decent offense. You know, their quarterback can kind of throw it around. They like to kind of throw it around. There might not be as many deep shots or things like that, but they can throw it kind of when they want to. They have a pretty good running back as well that probably will end up with 1,000 yards this season. So they kind of have a pretty balanced offense. You know, they're not just a pushover team that, you know, they've been the last, you know, few years. So they're a team that you will have to come to play with because they're going to be able to score some points when they want to, when the defense gives them favorable matchups, and they're also going to be able to run the ball. However, our defense, you know, that's kind of what we focus on, our run the game, run-stopping defense. But through the air, that's something that we struggle with, especially with some of our defensive guys out. So I think it'd be a pretty fun matchup for them. I think we're still probably favored in this game, and we should be favored in this game. But it's not a challenge that I think that, you know, we can't pass.
Pirates have 16 days off in between games. Now, I listened to Coach Keeler's press conference, their head coach. I think he's trying to play mind games. He was like, you know, he was like, he's like, I've had 16 days off, and I prefer to not have that. He basically said he would prefer to have like 10 days off, play a Thursday game, and then play the following Saturday.
Right.
He also mentioned, like, we have to believe we're just as good. He was like, we have to believe ECU is just as good as us. Like, he's trying to, like, give his team, I think, all the mind power, which was interesting. But 16 days off, Maceo, can that mess with your rhythm? How do you take advantage of it from being fresh but still being game ready, that sort of thing?
Oh, for sure. It's definitely a time of the season when you have that bye week or an extended kind of bye like we do. It can be hard, especially when you're middle of the road, kind of playing some games. And I don't think it'll be as bad for us because we already had a bye week this week, or this season, so this is our second one. So we kind of know how to just perform and come out after that. So the guys I'm sure they've still been getting a lot of reps. You know, probably have some off days, some time to heal, and maybe giving the younger guys a chance to show what they can do. But the guys, it's all about mental reps and just getting what you need to get. So I'm sure there might be a little bit of rust to knock off, but I'm sure they're prepared and probably amping up a lot this week, even though last week they were off.
Evan Simon, their quarterback, Maceo, 21 touchdowns to no interceptions.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, how does that even happen? Like, I mean, he's due, right? That means he's due?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things I looked at before I got on with you guys because obviously they're not on national TV as much, Temple. But I did notice that, and that's a pretty big deal. Even, you know, with us, where Caton might throw the ball, and I don't think Caton has 21 touchdowns. I don't think he has anywhere close to 21 touchdowns and still has picks at the same time as much as we like to throw it. So it's pretty impressive, honestly, and especially since they got a running back that almost has 700 yards this season. So it seems like they like to do many different things. Maybe this is, you know, kind of what they want to do under this new program and under this new regime, but that's pretty impressive by Simons.
We'll see if he can keep it going. Pirates looking to break that streak. Yeah, only one turnover for Temple as a team through 8 games.
Yeah.
So we'll see if the Pirates can get a few on Saturday. What did you see out of the offense against Tulsa that kind of, it really looked more like what we saw the second half of last year? So what did you see that kind of led to their success for ECU?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple. We just took what they gave us. And Tulsa thought, you know, with Green at that quarterback who's leading the country in interceptions, I think they felt pretty comfortable with him guarding our guys on the outside, but that did not work out, especially with Anthony Smith, who had like 150 yards on just a few catches. I mean, he had a big night, 2 touchdowns. So I think we just took what they gave us, and that's one of the things I've been preaching all year. You know, there might be a script, you might have a game plan, but at some point you got to switch it up if it's not working. So I think we saw early in that game they were going to play us man-to-man. And we obviously felt like we could take advantage of that matchup all around. And with Anthony, with Yannick, with some of the other guys, we saw the running back room come to play as well with London Montgomery. So we were hitting on all cylinders last week, and hopefully we can have another game like that.
We saw Mike Wright, obviously, at quarterback a little bit, at receiver. Yeah. We saw him at corner. He was blitzing. I'm hearing he's working a little bit more at corner during this time off. So I don't know. What do you think about Mike Wright, the cornerback?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Carroll said it after the Tulsa game. He was like, you know, we were working in some different guys there and just getting those reps. And he said that he felt like they could play better. So it's not surprising that you would see Mike Wright pretty much doing it all. You know, I've talked to some of the guys or just some of the people on staff, and it seems like he's just the ultimate athlete, just a football player, you know. And it's honestly surprising as a guy who came in as a quarterback. You know, a lot of times those guys don't want to do anything else, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They might want to switch to, you know, receiver or something on the outside, but he's been in the backfield at running back. He's been at corner. So that just shows how impressive he is, and just the type of guy he is to go out there and just continue to want to play no matter what position he is, regardless if that's, you know, what he got recruited as, you know. So I think it'll be pretty interesting to see him out there. I mean, he's got some length on him for sure, and definitely some speed. So that might be to our advantage.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, obviously, Maceo, we're talking to you, a guy who played a ton of different positions in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, I don't think did you ever play any corner, though? Like, playing the other side of the ball and just, I don't know, like, I think he can go there and obviously do a corner blitz. You know, anybody can do that, but I'm curious to see, like, if he stays out there, eventually he's gonna have to, like, defend a deep ball or something, you know? Like, so, like, how does he do doing that? Just how tough is that?
I mean, I'm sure it's super tough. I mean, that's nothing I would want to do in college. I mean, with all these receivers that can just release off the line so fast. I mean, that's why corner is probably the second hardest position in football behind quarterback. I mean, it's just such a hard position to play. But for someone like him, it seems like he can do it all. And probably if we do see him out there for some plays, I would be surprised if we saw him just out there, you know, 80, 75% of the snaps on defense. I'd be surprised if that happened. Because it's just so hard. But if he is out there, they're probably going to have some schemes where you don't just have one island man-to-man by himself. You know, he's probably going to be off a little bit. He'll be able to run pretty much with anybody, but, you know, just that change of direction and getting in that real game speed is just a little bit different than practice and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think he definitely can do it. I mean, this dude pretty much, if you just stand beside him, he kind of is built like Savon Revel. So they're kind of about that same size and everything. So you can see that potential of what the coaches could see.
No doubt. Super long, super athletic young man, Mike Wright is. All right, so ECU 4-3, 2-1 at the conference. We're visiting with Maceo Donald, sideline reporter on the ECU Sports Network. There are 7 teams in the league, Maceo, with 1 loss or less. ECU, Temple, South Florida, North Texas, and Memphis all have 1 loss. Navy's at 5-0 and Tulane's at 3-0, and so Navy, they've got to play a gauntlet coming up, starting with North Texas this weekend. So the conference is kind of wide open. We've kind of run through the scenarios. Really, ECU needs to win out to have a shot. They've got 5 games in November, and it just feels like kind of the next step for this program is to go out and win, you know, a game like Temple, and then set up a game. You know, hopefully take care of Charlotte, set up a game versus Memphis. So. How much are you looking forward to this November for ECU to kind of prove it can hang in this title picture, whether it makes it or not, but just kind of, you know, try to take that next step as a program?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what everyone's thinking now, and just, you know, with Coach Harrell kind of past that honeymoon phase, and there's expectations all around. And this team has a good quarterback with a good defense. Obviously the quarterback, but he's been here before. It's not like he's a new player, so there were a lot of expectations coming into the season, and I think in the building, in that athletic facility at Ward on ECU's campus, I think that they have expectations for the team as well. So I think when you see a game like this on the schedule where it's Temple, you're favored, you should beat this team. They're not a pushover, but this is kind of one of those moments where you want to go out and handle business and just set yourself up for kind of what's just coming next for the team. Obviously, you want to win out, and there hasn't been many times, at least recently, that ECU has had a chance to compete for that conference championship position. Obviously, after Temple, we have some tougher games, a ranked opponent in Memphis. We should take care of business with Charlotte. UTSA and Florida Atlantic are always fun teams to play, so you never know. But if you won out, you would put yourself in that position, and at that point, you just can't beat yourselves. But those are weeks in advance. A lot of things have to happen and have to go right. But I think just 1 week at a time and just understanding your opportunity, but handling business from week to week, just stacking days at practice.
Visit with Maceo Donald. Maceo, we talked about a lot about the college football games on the field this year nationwide. What do you make of this coaching carousel? Coaches getting fired, Brian Kelly, James Franklin. It's insane, man. What do you make of this as a former player?
It's just crazy how much guys are willing to get rid of their coaches because they feel like they can win now. I think that's what it comes out to be. Even at these big programs like LSU and Penn State and Florida, I mean, guys just want to win. So every coach, every player, quarterback, you're pretty much on the clock. And especially at big time, really big programs like that where national championships and conference championship is the bust, is that or the bust every year. I think you can see that pressure. And I think for someone like ECU, who's recently been through a coaching change and pretty much the last 365 days have moved on, you can kind of see that expectation of we want to win. That's a big deal. Winning is good for everybody. It brings more money to the school, to the players, to the coaches, to the leadership position, people like Mr. Gilbert in the athletic department. So I think it's a big deal to win, and football just drives, certain schools, especially like ours.
A lot of time before now in the college football playoff, Maceo, but can I interest you in a playoff potentially consisting of Indiana, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, BYU, and Texas Tech? What do you think about that? Maybe even Virginia, too.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to happen. I'll probably say maybe not Virginia. I don't think Virginia will get in there, but definitely Georgia Tech will get in there. BYU wins out, they'll get in there. Texas Tech, I mean, that Big 12 is a pretty tough conference, honestly. Texas Tech, Utah, BYU, even Iowa State and Arizona State have all had pretty nice wins this season. So I mean, that's kind of up in the air for that conference. But I mean, it's going to be the big boys in there from the SEC and the Big Ten. So it's going to be pretty crazy. I'm excited. I was just listening to something today, and it was just kind of going through that whole potential bracket and stuff. And there's a lot of different things. But that SEC is going to be leading the pack for sure. It's always tough. You see one of those guys almost go down every week, and they're still a top 15 team.
To go back to the coaching carousel real quick, do you think this is the year Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss for one of those big Florida LSU? Or do you think he just rides it out in Oxford?
I feel like he would ride it out, but at the same time, it's Ole Miss. That's kind of near the area I'm from. It's 45 minutes from where I was born in Mississippi, and it's not the same as you go into LSU or Florida or Penn State. Even though Florida hasn't been good, it's still different when you get a big time coach there and you can recruit. It kind of changes the game. At Ole Miss, you might have a good year like this year. The next year, you lose 4 games. So it's kind of that aspect of it. His pays probably would be similar, but that just potential to win at the highest level, I think that would be hard to turn down, just because you don't know when that opportunity will come back. But that just consistent, just foundation and funding that schools like LSU, Florida, and Penn State would have is kind of hard to turn down. I'm sure all those schools are calling Lane Kiffin, Dan Lanning, and even probably Nick Saban as well. So I think it'll be interesting to see where everyone ends up. But I'm sure all these schools want a big-time guy that's proven.
Maceo, Donald, final thing for you. We know you're obviously doing your thing at WCTI early in the mornings, so make sure you continue to get your sleep, by the way. Carteret News-Times, obviously you're still working there as well and writing your column, so I know you're working on something now. When can Pirate fans expect that, and where can they find it?
Yeah, you just search up my name, Carteret County News-Times, Coastal Carolina online, so I'm there. Just search up my name. But I've been doing a lot of ECU stuff this year, just following the guys on the sports column called Just Say It. So I've been mainly following ECU this season, and that'll probably be where I am for the rest of the year. It's bi-monthly, so twice a month you can find all my stuff there.
All right, Maceo, any tease of what you're working on for this week, or is it next week? When will it drop?
Actually, right now I took a break off of ECU for once this season during the bye week and did some more local, just Carteret County stuff down on the coast of our state. So just working on something more focused on the high school athletics and just the change there. It's a lot of, I grew up in a beach town, and you see kind of every year that people love living here, but you got to be able to afford to live here. So a lot of the students are leaving, and that affects sports because people can't afford to live in the area. And then just over time, that effect, it just kind of harms, some of the schools, at least athletically. So that's kind of one thing I'm talking about this week.
Good stuff, man. And yeah, definitely getting a lot of Pirate fans out that way as well. So check it out. Carteret News Times, Carolina Coast Online under Maceo Donald. Maceo, we appreciate the time so much, man. And next time we see you in Daddy Ficklin Stadium, it'll finally be another Saturday game. So looking forward to that here in a couple weeks, man. But we'll connect with you next week.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Absolutely. That's Maceo Donald, ECU football sideline reporter. Always appreciate his time on the program. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll have more Hoist the Colors after this.
Hurry to Greenville Toyota for model year-end savings on a Camry. Just $229 a month. $229 a month. Or new RAV4, $279 a month. $279 a month. Only during our model year-end move-out. Right now at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville, we've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
It's Greenville Toyota's model year-end move-out. Save on a new Corolla, just $149 a month. $149 a month. Or new Tacoma, $249 a month. $249 a month. Now
everything you need to know in the world of ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Final segment here, final few minutes of the program. Back with you. Appreciate Maceo Donald and Ryan Wallen. A couple questions we'll get to before we get out of here. On this Thursday, Lane Smith, who is a Philly guy but a Philly Eagles guy, wants to know how nervous are we for Saturday for this football game. Philip Pilkington back in the 94.3 The Game studios. For me, I'm not even nervous. I mean, I'm expecting a good football game, and I'm going to pick East Carolina to win. And I think they go out there and do it. I know you may have some different opinions, but I don't know, like nerves maybe if you're playing or if you're a fan, but I think I'm going to try to just enjoy it, but it should be a competitive football game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a high-scoring back and forth, but I do get what Lane's asking here from just an ability to win standpoint and a fan standpoint. Yeah, I mean, I think there's got to be a little bit right, and that's just recognizing that Temple is a good football team. And also, look, can East Carolina win a national championship? Probably not, but if you win every single game the rest of the year, there's a chance you're in the conference championship game, and then if you win that, there's a chance you're in the college football playoff. So it is kind of a playoff game as it results to technically your goal is to win a national championship here. So I think that amps it up a little bit, Lane. So I do get what you're saying, but yeah, it should be a good one.
expecting a good game. And I just want to see ECU go out and play how I know they can play. And if they do that, I think they can win a lot of games in this November schedule, but we'll see. Hunter wants to know which conference opponent has the worst game day atmosphere, Rice, UAB, Temple, or Tulsa. So I would have said UAB if they still played at Old Legion Field, by far the worst, because it's the worst stadium, worst atmosphere, probably the fewest amount of fans. But since they've moved to, now I have not covered a game. Covered the Birmingham Bowl at the new stadium, but have not covered a UAB game, so I can't say there. But I do think it's a better venue, so I'm going to go between Rice, Temple, and Tulsa. I think Rice and Temple, just because of the size of the stadiums, both are huge. Temple has a much nicer venue, so I'm going to give the worst atmosphere to Rice. For me, with Tulsa, it's not good, but at least it's a smaller venue, basically a high school stadium. So congratulations to Rice. I don't know, Philip. You can only watch these games on TV. So any
what
thoughts?
I will say is this: at least when Temple's good, they'll get 15 or 20,000. I don't think when Rice is good, they're going to break 10. I've
been to Temple when they are competing for a conference championship, and they had close to 30,000 in 16 with Matt Rule. And I'm not going to say it was electric, but it was a fun environment. So I've seen Temple have a good environment. In Lincoln Financial Field, they had the NFL bells and whistles, good sound system. So they at least try. Rice is just not good.
Rice is just food.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant experience from my estimation, unless they've upgraded a lot in the past couple of years. All right, we're out of time. Fun show again. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk more Treya Savage then. We'll have Bobby Harward in studio as well. Appreciate Maceo Donald. Appreciate also Ryan Wallen from Al's Daily. We'll talk more ECU Temple tomorrow and more Treya Savage. We'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in on Hoist the Colors.